baby. All right, fuck. Whoa. What the hell? There we go. All right.
Tiberius, the bodyguard of Connor Points at the moment. I didn't expect to see that cameo, but it's going to be a great show. We have some interesting topics, and I'm excited to continue.
Wait, can I do that and then
forward as we continue to grow as a show? So we're going to start with everybody doing quick intros. Then we're going to go into the rules. Then we're going to go into the first topic. So we're going to start as always in the top left-hand corner with Jangles. Jangles, by the way, you haven't been on in a while because last time you got your ass drunk on my show and started rambling, and then you've been banned for like 3 months.
Yeah,
let's hold on. I can fix this.
Well, no, I don't want to redeem myself too much because this show, I feel like it needs to heal.
None.
I feel like I can control that role just a little bit more. So the last time I was on here, I got shit-faced drunk, and this time I'm doing a scuffed podcast from my office that I work at. So I never want to do a good job here. All right, I'll be the heel for you. I will be that character.
So what you're saying is that your school endorses all of your opinions tonight.
Indeed, yes. This is the exact topic. All these topics, the Hunting Buyers sex tapes, the sex positions, all that stuff, these are directly endorsed by the school.
Wonderful. Happy to hear it.
All
Happy to hear that Hunting Buyers sex tapes are part of the curriculum. We're moving on over to Layman.
Hello, everybody. My name is... sorry? Did someone say something? Okay, I thought someone just... Okay.
It's your intro.
Make me warm, bitch.
This is about you.
That's
Be self-centered.
That's true. Yeah, nobody else matters but me. That's absolutely right. So,
yes.
Hello everybody. My name is Layman. Politically, I'm kind of all over the place. So I'll just let you decide what the label is. Most people, as a meme, call me a radical centrist. So I think that's a fucking stupid term. I don't like it. But basically, I guess what I usually tell people is like very, very broadly, I care about social progress, so that's like LGBT rights.
Can you even be a radical centrist?
Gay rights, trans rights, you name it. I care about all of these things, but I also care about upholding certain tradition as well. So I also care about like natalism, the multi-generational family, socially encouraging that in society, and just sort of including all of these different groups into that structure. And whatever economic policy positions I have are basically just done with the end goal of that. So I literally don't give a fuck what it is. And usually when I tell people that, they throw the radical centrist label onto me, which is, again, it's super fucking cringe. I'm not defending the label whatsoever, but that's basically what people call me. So you can call me a radical centrist with Canadian characteristics if you like. That's the best ideology. It's the only ideology that matters. So, and basically it means good things happen and bad things don't happen. So with that, I will kick it off to the next person.
Lecture fan, I'm happy that you shooed your very adorable child out of the room because you're about to dunk on some leftists, and that's not PG-13 content, okay? That's rated R. Lecture fan, the voice of my notification occurred, the one and only, someone who might soon be on the Montana Supreme Court. Talk about that. Is that a thing?
Like Montana's going through a genuine constitutional crisis right now where the legislature is subpoenaing individual Supreme Court justices and threatening impeachment. So that was more a comment on the current status. But Dylan, thanks for having me on. Layman, nice to meet you. Jangles, nice to meet you. Joe Lewis, good to see you again. CTV, good to see you again. Trihex, good to see you again. Counterpoints, good to see you again. Maddie, nice to meet you. And yeah, I'm a conservative. I do politics on Twitch. I got a podcast. I tweet a lot. Got a YouTube channel, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. Lecture fan everywhere. LC.
This guy's
thanks.
From what I've heard,
I bet he's going to be
terrible character in debate.
I think he's putting himself.
We'll find out.
I'm sure he'll come in with a solution to that constitutional crisis. We're moving over to Joe Lewis.
Hey, how's it going? I heard that the person who was guarding all of the black people, hypocrite, was finally banished. So now that he was finally banished, the Phantom Zone filled with all the black people was freed. So we're all free and able to navigate on Twitch. So it's very exciting to see Trihex here, freed from the jail that was the Hippy Dippy podcast, Phantom Zone. So
Yeah.
now that we're finally liberated, it's going to be very good to see a bunch of new faces. I don't know, fuck that guy. Anyway, I'm Joe Lewis on the O's of Zero. I'm glad to be here. A lot of faces I've seen in different spaces, so it's good. Hope we have some fun today.
Yeah, if anybody in chat doesn't know what he's referring to, I Hypocrite was a member of the Rumble.
Hey, nice
of,
mic, Joe.
The Hippy Dippy Rumble, and he said nothing for 20 minutes. Then I walked away, said the N-word, came back, said it again, and got kicked off. And then made 2 YouTube videos for 40 minutes of content complaining as to why he couldn't say the N-word on my show. And I gotta say, I am an oppressive dictator, and I am saying to everyone out there, I will take your N-words, as in you will not be allowed to say it, ever. It's banned from my chat, banned from my community, because I'm authoritarian, okay? This is 1984 all over again, okay? Point blank, period.
Actually, we do. Can I humor some lore for a second?
Sure. For a second.
Try hex.
Yo,
You gotta help
what's
me.
going on, man?
You gotta help me here. Would you be upset if your emote was next to a purple drink?
Oh no, don't do this again.
Who the fuck is talking?
Oh no.
Oh, man, this is some loaded hypotheticals here. Okay.
I wish it wasn't a hypothetical.
Oh,
No, I mean, the purple drink that could be interpreted as lean. That could be interpreted as like, I don't know, Kool-Aid or whatever. I mean, I would even argue that the whole like the tropes of like watermelon and fried chicken and grape drink are all like intrinsically black things that are to be desired. I don't even know when that came to play here. Like everybody loves fried chicken, so I don't even know where that even comes from. So if you're doing tryhard / purple drink, I ain't mad at you. Shit good.
Oh shit.
Charmhole, you're uncanceled. Congratulations. Throwing it over to counterpoints.
Hi, my name is Connor. I am a radical centrist, but I embrace the fucking label completely. I do not disavow. So I identify as center right. So I lean left on some subjects. I lean right on others. But basically, immigration, guns, civic nationalism, American empire. Those are kind of the things that I'm more right wing on. And then basically what I'm not okay with on the right wing is this like new anarcho-capitalist bullshit that fucking everybody is into. Just slash taxes for the rich people. Everything will work out. We don't need any social safety net. We don't need any public benefits. People don't need healthcare. People don't need good educations. Whatever the fuck that is on the right, it's a losing battle, and I'm sick of it and I'm tired of it. And just because you're on the right wing doesn't mean you can't care about people or the environment. And that's what I'm fighting for. So,
this is my egghead.
pretty much that.
Wonderful. Next, we're gonna throw it over to Maddie.
What's up, dude?
Hi. Ooh, 1 second.
Jesus H with your fucking
boy.
volume.
Okay. Hi, I'm Maddie. I I guess
Heyo.
you could call me a leftist. I see myself as a pragmatic leftist
Yeah,
in that
excellent
I
indeed.
believe in harm reduction and policies that work to help as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, while we fight for long-term systemic change in the background. In real life, I am a creative director, political strategist, consultant, former digital marketing.
Hey, we got
director for
Vosh
big tech,
on.
and I'm really
What's
happy to be
Vosh
here, and I
doing?
usually stream about like politics,
Just
and stuff,
chatting.
and I am just seeing the topics now,
And
so
then
you can count on my opinions being
She usually
informed and thought
plays
through.
Valheim with Destiny,
Hello?
and I don't like Demon Mama.
Jangles, he's already drunk. And
Okay,
he's muted.
well, there you go.
Continue.
Sick.
That's
You
it.
ready to
Just-
learn some
I'm really
shit?
happy to be here.
Life
Thanks
hacks?
for having me.
Wonderful.
I don't know. I might
And
not
for
learn
anybody who didn't
anything. We'll
understand,
find out.
When she was talking about her job, she said big tech. What she meant is that if you've been banned off of Twitter, it's her
Hey,
fault.
whoa!
We're
I
moving
moved
on.
this.
Try
That's
hacks.
what I got.
Thank you for clarifying.
Hey, oh, you work for Twitter, man. Me and my
Hiya.
I did not-
trying to get bit. I'm joking. I was making like some super shitter jokes about.
Another one. Yeah.
Talk to Destiny.
No. I'll super joke. Welcome, everyone. I'm Triax in the face of Tryhard, your favorite global emote, probably the most banned global emote. I politically am. There's a lot of loaded rhetoric here, but probably left-leaning advocate of populist policy, progressive agendas, and ultimately trying to. The priority would probably be again harm
Might
reduction.
learn
and trying
less
to
from
unfuck
watching
the last
it.
like 40 years of Reagan. Can I go here? Probably
Hey, you
can't.
might.
Of course.
Unfuck the last 40 years of Reaganomics.
I
in
know,
general.
I
That
know.
was probably a good spot to get.
How do
at
I
that, and
fucking-
also getting money out of politics?
Holy!
The money that's able to be interpreted as free speech and be able.
Can I
to
really
corrupt
not
and-
make this
and
rap?
Freaking dilute all good intended means of making anything better for the majority of working class Americans. That's probably where I would start there. But there's that. There's race relations. There's racial tension. There's bigotry. There's a whole lot going on. Big old laundry list here. It's more a matter of figuring out here where we start with the priority. Because we
Are
have too
you
much time
serious?
Any given year to get some stuff done.
All right.
So, there's a lot of battles I want to fight, but I'm working on the most urgent ones.
Oh, I think I might need. Oh, I might be super dumb.
Like Maddie put there, maximize the amount of harm reduction at this time.
Let's do something like
I
this.
do like seeing Americans live. I'm very saddened by over 500,000 from coronavirus dead. I'd like to see us kind of like get back on a better pace. And then the one thing I do look at, like in the tunnel here, is the fact that if
send me an egg. Wait, no, actually, send me a longer message. I want to test the outer bounds of this real quick.
Response to COVID should be a wake-up call to have some sweeping big changes done so that we are better prepared in a more proactive manner rather than panicking in a purely reactive manner. So that's where I probably would start at this point. I'm glad to be on here again. Thanks again, Dylan, for the invite.
Happy to have you back. Finally, I started messaging you on Discord, which you've been more responsive on. But you never. But I'm about to cancel you, Trihex. I'm disappointed in you.
Uh oh.
You know what I'm disappointed in, Trihex?
What's that, man? What
you can't guess. You can't guess. So Trihex, I invite you and you accept him on my show. Then I'm like, oh, also, I've been trying to do more gaming content and just ghosted. Just ghosted. No response. No yes. No no. Nothing. Just nothing. Just nothing whatsoever. Because Trihex doesn't want political streamers in the gaming community because he knows that this hair
He's
could
a
threaten
busy man.
everybody else's viewership, and I find that a little offensive.
Whoa. In the courtroom of this freaking Discord call. Wait a minute. What am I being accused of right now?
I'm accusing you of that. I was
gatekeeping. Gatekeeping
yes.
white gamers out of their rightful space.
Oh my
God. What the hell, man? Come on.
Look at those last DMs. No response whatsoever. Look at those last DMs. Look at them. Look at those last DMs. You never responded to them.
No.
Hey, where's my damn message?
Look how nice I was. I was like, hey,
Come on, lackey.
And you were like, whatever. You basically spit on me.
I'm trying to test my little chat box here. I need help.
Okay. Hang on, wait. All right.
He's so nervous.
Try hard at dodging the question.
It is true. You did DM me about some collab shit, and that is hype. We should definitely do that.
Why?
However, on the 14th,
wait,
I did like
it resized itself. Okay.
Off the stream, I only check Discord DMs like before I go live. I'm trying
okay, playing X3. I'll be on Prelude again. Just repaired a Nova Raider, the third Nova fighter that you've recovered. Nice.
I had a Smash.
Okay, now I just found out that I need to make the fucking. Okay. This is so annoying, dude.
Doing some, some wonderful, fantastic, interracial,
all right,
progressive, collaborative gaming is work.
All right, but now try another message.
The gate wall to the fun friendship shit. That's no
Trihex. I expect a lot of things from this stream, but you proposing to do interracial content with me was not one of the things I expected. But I will
Marking,
say,
baby.
Oh, rip.
I will
hey, look, there we go. That's pretty tolerable, if you ask me.
Discord DMs when the world was like, yo, what the fuck? I'm sure that's what happened. We're gonna move over to CTV as the last intro of the night before we get into the first topic.
The cargo hold is too small. Rip.
Good evening, everyone. I am Critically Thinking Veteran. The entire fucking reason that I'm here tonight, in and amongst me moving 300 fucking miles,
I'm gonna change my.
Is because I'm Dylan Burns' friend, and it is very fucking taxing being your friend. What is Dylan Burns. I'm not gonna fucking lie.
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna fucking like sugarcoat it.
Here we go.
Right?
I'm just gonna go with a color. Yeah.
This guy's friend.
All right,
Anybody says otherwise, they're just trying to fill you a line full of fucking bullshit, right? Jangles, I'm glad to see you here tonight, brother. We was actually together that night. You got a little tipsy. Don't know how we're going to get through the night, but happy
there we
to
go.
see you again, as always.
Look, see, this is tolerable. I like this.
Happy to see you, brother.
Looking for a size XL. Brother. The biggest one you have is an L.
Matty Cakes.
Oh, snap.
What kind of birthday sister? That's what we'll do that, right?
How hard is it to come across an XL?
Birthday sister. Happy to see you. Lecture fan, always a pleasure, brother. To see the legal eagles running around, flying around. Woo-hoo. Get it. Counterpoints. We're going to have to schedule that beer. Joe Lewis. New Jersey still stinks, man. I don't know. And Trihex. I don't know what that is, what you're eating, but you're fucking making me hungry. Quit that shit, right? And with that, I have no idea what the fucking topics are. I got told about this shit like an hour ago. So we're gonna fucking wing the shit out of this. My
Compared
job is to make
to
the people fucking laugh. And
what's
if
the
you don't
cost of an
laugh, well,
L?
that's your own fucking problem. And we'll, go talk to somebody about that.
Yeah, so the reason
Yeah,
why
a few
we have
million's pretty
few
expansive.
last-minute additions is because certain people canceled last second. Hutch basically said lecture fan scares me. He's too smart, and he just dipped. I mean, that's understandable personally.
Wow.
I understand it.
He's right.
100% accurate. And by the way, I think Jangles, I understand why you're on school grounds. It's because you can't bring alcohol there. So, it makes sense for the show. And from now on, it will have
It's
to
just
be
a safety mechanism. That's
safety
all it is.
mechanism, 100%. So we're going to go into the first topic. So, a little bit ago, Fox News aired some pictures of Hunter Biden that many people have classified kind of as revenge porn. It was basically sexual photographs of him engaged in sexual activities with people in the world. Like one of them was him straddling a woman, or was it a woman straddling him? I don't really know. I haven't looked at them. But then it started a little debate on whether it was good for them to air this type of stuff of a figure of, I guess, now of political importance after the last election, or was it just unclassy and kind of like revenge porn? So the idea is, what do you think of Fox News airing these sexual photographs of Hunter Biden? We're gonna start.
Is there any similar mechanic that would allow you to like eject
I almost forgot the rules.
Pirates from their XL fighters?
And for everyone at home, yes, because now I have to say this after the Rumble, that includes the N-word with a soft A. Okay, I don't want anybody trying to use the wiggle room. That includes that. I'm sorry. That everybody has to follow by that rule. I'm sorry.
As the replacement Canadian, in place of I hypocrite, I promise I will not say any manner of the N-word.
Thank you very much.
XL isn't available on a rip. Oh, no.
Brave.
Thank
So
you.
brave.
I have a question.
Well, the grind continues then, huh?
We can't say soft A. Can I say with a hard A? You imply hard A.
I never thought about a hard A. That I'll put that before the board. Okay, we'll review that.
Okay.
We'll review that.
Okay, thank you.
So are you telling me that you can't say nutta butta?
Okay, let's not play the game.
Sir.
Let's play the game. Okay, let's get to the rules. Okay, we're already 25 minutes in. Okay, so nothing TOS. You will and for respectability reasons, you will you will identify people and like talk to them as how they personally identify. Basically, I am a man. You will say like he, him, they, them for me, whatever.
Is it difficult to attack a freighter and win?
Whatever other values or whatever, just for respectability reasons. Okay. Does anybody have any objections or like, I don't know about these rules? These all, pretty simple rules. So, okay. Gonna go into the first topic. The first topic is what I already said. It's Hunter Biden, sex tapes, etc. Fox News. Jangles, you go first. You got about a minute.
All right, so the best I can tell, so in the the archived Fox News segment, they were talking about the Hunter Biden laptop and how it's like tied to an investigation with China and all that fun stuff. What I'm wondering is like, let's say everything with the Biden investigation is true. Everything is true. Absolutely, like he got kickbacks from China or Ukraine or whatever the accusations are. What did airing those tapes, those pictures, what did that do to further?
Just a bit illegal. Oh,
what evidence did that bring?
Do it.
Already, like what? How is that relevant at all to it?
What good's the law if you can't break it? Am I right?
In under the guise that this is somehow relevant. We found these on that supposed laptop. And the only possible explanation is it's to make the president look as horrible as possible, based on like a morality that they just hope.
I think the real way to put that would be, what good's the law if no one breaks it?
Anyway, I hope I get to have it one day. But from what I hear,
you don't want to lose rep. All right, fair enough.
Stuff, that's just kind of a low blow. So I don't know. I'm interested in hearing like what possible like good reason, what possible like moral reason there was to bring this stuff up when you're pretending it's about the investigation. So that's all I got to say.
Jangles comes out as pro-sex. Moving it over to Layman.
Yeah, so I think that revenge porn is fucking disgusting. I think everybody on here should be able to agree with that, and I think that regardless of like whatever actions a person participates in, regardless of their status in society, regardless of who they might be as an individual, like I don't give a fuck if it was Hunter Biden or if it was like fucking
that's fair.
Like I don't know, someone who has a worse moral character than Hunter Biden, whoever that might be. So I don't care who it is. Like revenge porn is fucked. And whatever like Fox News essentially airing revenge porn is something that I think should be tried by the law. So I don't know what state laws or if it's federal law or whatever, because I'm not a fucking American. Fuck America. Fuck you, Yanks. Okay, but whatever it is, that Fox News would adhere to law-wise, I think that they should be condemned to that. Now, the problem is, and this is actually where I'd like the conversation to go, is a lot of different states have a lot of different laws about revenge porn, and there are nine or 10, I can't remember.
You're a part of this system.
9 states-ish, 9, 10 states that don't have any revenge porn laws whatsoever. And I mean, maybe this is just me, maybe I'm just being a little too exaggeratory here, but I think that revenge porn is morally equivalent to like basically sexually assaulting somebody, because you are violating somebody's informed consent in order to essentially what's the word I'm thinking of, like exploit their sexuality. So yeah. So yeah, just there's like a bunch of different states, and a lot of different states, they have like fucking shitty laws, and I'd love to talk about that instead of some culture war bullshit like Hunter Biden.
Wonderful. Okay, lecture fan, best lawyer on Twitch.
Okay, the fact that this is about Fox News just goes to show how much of a boogeyman it is to the leftists. You know that Daily Mail was the one that actually published these? All Fox News did was report that the Daily Mail published it. So the fact that everybody's like, it's Fox News, and it's like, no, it's the Daily Mail. And the reason they published it is because the president of the United States lied to the American people and said that Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. And then big tech, in coordination with the Democrat Party, censored the information from the American people during the middle of an election. And this goes directly to Joe Biden, the president of the United States, and whether he's compromised and whether he is corrupt. And the American people deserve to know the truth. And if there's pictures on that laptop that can prove that the laptop is real and it was Hunter Biden's laptop and it's not Russian disinformation, and that Joe Biden covered it up and lied to the American people, and that big tech, in coordination with the Democrat Party, censored, purged, and deleted and banned this information from big tech to try to swing the election. This touches on all these issues. This touches on free speech. This touches on Section 230. This touches on corruption by the Democrat Party. This touches on whether Joe Biden should be trusted or not. I think we ought to open up an impeachment investigation against Joe Biden right now and start investigating him for impeachment.
Okay, next is going to be CTV. Oh, and he is gone. So we're going to actually do counterpoints. Wait, CTV's back.
Look, remind me when I get through speaking, because I was going to get my blood pressure medicine. All right.
Oh boy, let's get heated.
Yeah.
Deep breath.
So, the question is, Hunter Biden, Fox News, revenge porn. Look, if you are going to have sex on camera, right, then you are aware that if you are not the sole possessor of that media, that there is a chance that someone could do nefarious things with it, right? So the question ahead of time is whether or not you should be recording yourself doing lewd things, right? That's the real question. So whether or not somebody chooses to do that,
fair enough.
Personally, anything that has been archived with me stays with me. I wouldn't do that, but if other people do that, it's like there seems to be always be some kind of drama happening in the background. And call me curious, but I'm usually maybe just a little bit curious why people choose to do the things that they do. So
get the fuck, come on.
That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Okay,
nice.
This is going to be counterpoints.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in the middle here. So I do find it interesting and newsworthy that the president's son basically fucked up, left a laptop with videos of him banging probably prostitutes and doing hard drugs. I do think that's interesting and newsworthy. I don't think that you need to leak the explicit pictures themselves in order to cover that story, unless asked for it. And then I think the more interesting investigation that I hope actually gets investigated more aggressively, and I think the thing that I care about more is the alleged peddling of influence. Hunter Biden basically saying that, like, oh yeah, I'm charging some Chinese billionaire $10 million a year just for introductions. His receipt of money from, I believe, like the mayor of Russia, his payments off from a Ukrainian gas company. And all of this stuff is way more interesting to me, whether or not Joe Biden was aware of his son peddling influence and whether or not that had any effect on American foreign policy. I basically assume that every politician's kid does hard drugs and bangs hookers. Hunter Biden is just dumb enough to take pictures and then let those pictures get leaked. So the corruption is more interesting to me.
Okay. Next is going to be Joe Lewis.
Yeah, if Hunter Biden and the laptop are important and factually relevant for the base, Fox News should have reported the story as researched. They have the capital and lawyers to defend against backlash. Releasing photos in this way was irresponsible.
Okay, next is going to be Maddie, and I need to use the bathroom desperately, so when Maddie ends, Trihex, it's your turn right after. I'll be right back.
Gotcha.
Cool. So I don't think it matters where the report originated or where the photos originated. Airing revenge porn is wrong and, quite frankly, morally abhorrent. Both the Daily Mail and Fox News are complicit in airing those photos
They're not
because
complicit.
revenge porn, like Layman alluded to,
They
is a
did
form
it.
of slut shaming. And Hunter Biden has
They're
been
the
used
actors.
as a proxy by the right consistently to try to make President Biden look bad. And I think that's really unfair because Hunter Biden is not an elected official. And it is pretty disgusting that they continue to go after him. It's also rich that the right is now concerned about the president's children peddling influence as soon as the former president's children, who, by the way, were a constant presence in the White House. In fact, Ivanka Trump was very regularly sitting on panels at official dinners, serving as the president's proxy. So it's just a little fascinating that all of a sudden they have drawn the line on, well, I'm going to crack down on peddling influence. And lastly, I think it's really important that we all admit here today that just from an objective standpoint, Hunter Biden is extremely hot. And that's it.
Okay, next is going to be Trihex.
Yeah. I think it's always important when we're looking at the situations here to try to apply like kind of like the to test our logic here, just kind of like flip the script a little bit here. And like how often have we seen like revenge porn of, I suppose, you're like Republican figures on Fox News comparatively? Or would that even happen? How probable is that to happen? One would ask here. And I don't think that's really the case here, especially whenever there was like how many like approaching like 45 plus accusations from women when it came to specifically Trump during his presidency. I didn't really see any of that go on there comparatively. Not directly applicable here, obviously, but just like the eagerness to distribute those explicit images to me, yeah, is as Maddie put it as well here, morally abhorrent, most certainly. I don't think the reporting of Daily Mail or Daily Caller, I'm sorry, I forgot what it was called here. They're reporting on Fox News' behalf excuses their agency to like still choose to show explicit images as described here. That's still very, very questionable because one has to ask here if the photos were on the laptop and laptop was stolen, so it wasn't really done with Hunter Biden's consent. Do the photos contribute towards the entire investigation here? Like is Hunter banging some chick really relevant? Is seeing that intrinsically relevant to like the bigger accusations here of the corruption at play or the corruption being accused? It just seems like, again, like a really like shallow jab to just like, look at Hunter, man. Wow. Joe doesn't have his son under control here. Holy shit. It seems like a really like a character assassination attempt there, I would say. Very, very low, bro. Not really a fan of it.
Okay, it is now open, free reign. You can all engage on the topic.
Yeah,
forgive me if I can't take the left's moralizing seriously. My goodness.
And forgive the left if they can't take the right's moralizing seriously.
I was about to say, like, okay, so
fucking brain
here's the
dead.
thing that I would definitely like to avoid, even if this is what happens. I don't give a fuck. Okay, I don't give a fuck if Trump peddled influence. As a matter of fact, I think he should be investigated for that. If the Trump family was corrupt and they peddled influence, gained money and financial and clout and all that kind of shit outside of office, that is also bad. So if we could avoid like right wing bad, also left wing, like let's just admit that everybody's a fucking hypocrite. Number one.
The hell's happening?
Hunter, sorry, 1 second. 3 points, and I'll just give you guys fodder. Hunter shouldn't be a vector for attacking the president. He absolutely fucking should be if he's peddling fucking influence. Right wing hypocrisy on peddling influence. Again, fuck Trump if he did it. Is Hunter banging random chicks relevant to the story? Maybe not if he's banging random prostitutes. But one of the interesting parts of the story that I hadn't even heard before was that Hunter Biden is basically having sex with, or did have sex with, an A-list celebrity, the star of Mulan, which is an interesting detail. And what I'm interested in is, especially with the authoritarian nature of the CCP, what's the nature of the relationship? What kind of information was shared? What kind of social introductions are being promised? Where's the money going? What does his finances look like? These are all important questions. So yes, if he's fucking random prostitutes, who cares? If he's fucking very rich, connected, powerful people, could be a problem.
Layman, yeah, you got hand raised.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Connor, I think that it's also very important though to just acknowledge that there was like a broadcasting institution as powerful as, and if it wasn't Fox News, Lecture Fan, I'm sorry. If you have other information, you can correct me. But like whoever it was that like leaked those photos, like I think that those people need due repercussion. If some huge like broadcasting institution is able to engage in like revenge porn, which again is like illegal in most states, and we're just like, oh yeah, whatever, fuck that. I think that's fucked. I think that we should be talking about the consequences of that action.
Well, what do you guys want to talk about first? The public corruption or
It's
the
up to you
revenge
guys.
porn?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think these are two separate topics.
They're not really separate topics for one reason. Because so someone at least alluded to the sentiment, like who gives a fuck about the revenge porn? There could be corruption involved, and that's far more important. Which the reason that they included the revenge porn is so that we're talking about the corruption again. So these two things are connected. You get the lewd photos out there to get people talking about Joe Biden and the laptop. You leak those again, so people start talking about the supposed corruption. The investigation's ongoing. It's probably going to be ongoing for a while. If there's no new news about that, if we haven't even confirmed, the FBI hasn't come out and said yes, this laptop absolutely belonged to Hunter Biden. So what is the reason to publish those? It's not anything. If it's not relevant to the case, which it isn't, the only possible other alternative is to get attention on the story and to humiliate Hunter Biden in like the most Weasley little way. Like there's no excuse for this.
And to start a culture war, to keep a culture war going, yeah.
Trihex, you want to say something?
So sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, also wanted to say here, I know there's like kind of like a stigma on the fixation over the morality of should the revenge.
Finally
porn
got to
have
the
been
jump
released or
gate.
not with the
Nice.
explicit images.
All right.
I want to go back here that the question posed was.
Well, that's pretty
should the
sweet.
revenge
So that'll
porn
make your
have been released?
fast
So I
travel
kinda, like, took that question and
a
started
thing now,
there
right?
on the ethics of the revenge porn. But I see now it has since skewed into more about the revenge porn being potentially related to, who Hunter was sleeping with. X is the prior narrative from this point here. Is the laptop even Hunter Biden's? Is the repair guy who allegedly claimed that the laptop is his because the sticker matched the laptop or whatever? All the other 6 degrees separation that all like build up that the laptop is actually a big piece of evidence into a bigger potential corruption scandal here. Like I just want to bring up here again that the question started me as that. So that's kind of why I was more fixated on the ethics part. So I thought we were having more of an
that's why I focus so hard on it. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
That is the topic.
So, but we can now go off of that if that's like a, because I agree it's kind of like a either you care or you don't care. I think the biggest story here is about the corruption, right, or the alleged corruption.
Well, and here's an interesting thing, right? Because often, yeah. Sorry. Wait. Can I go?
I said you and then Joe after.
Okay, yeah. So my thing is, or my fear is that a lot of these institutions are aligned. So for instance, like I don't really give a fuck who you are, whether or not you're the president of the United States. One of the most interesting stories of the past half decade was basically Hillary Clinton having
objection,
like an open case about her laptop or whatever, and then Bill Clinton sitting down with the head of the DOJ on a fucking airport tarmac.
Wait a second, hold on. Let me test something real quick.
Kids and like all that kind of
amazing.
Like that is so fucked up.
And
like,
come on,
have a powerful member of a family sitting with basically the head fucking prosecutor.
Guess that was what happened. I moved the wrong thing.
So basically what I'm saying right here is, like, how do we keep this story? Okay.
Glad you got to save before. Yeah, that's a good move.
Kept the story in the public eye just by mentioning.
Okay, there we go.
Like the sex allegations, but pointing to the corruption.
Last jump gate to go through. Sweet.
So I guess like let's just leave it there. Would that have been acceptable if they had mentioned the fact that Hunter Biden had like nudes and pornographic videos and like sex videos with powerful people, but the more important thing was the potential corruption. If they had done that, would that have been acceptable? That's my question.
No.
No.
Why not?
Yeah, it wouldn't have I don't think it would have morally justified it, like
Well,
engaging in revenge porn. I think you could have
yeah.
exposed it without having to
I
release
hope it's
the
not
actual
really
revenge porn
far
in and of
back.
itself.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
I
that's what I'm
question
saying.
whether
If they didn't release the photos.
Okay,
That's what I'm
lecture
asking.
fan, because he's
Oh
responding
yeah,
to this. But
if
then
they didn't release the photos, that would have been fine.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
it wasn't
Lecture
Fox
fan,
News.
It'll
that
be
released
fine,
the
I
photos,
promise.
It was
Okay,
Daily Mail. Quit acting like it was Fox News. Second of all,
Whoever-
it's not even. It's not even revenge. It's not even. It's not even.
Is that
revenge
really
porn.
bad?
At least the
That's
pictures
such a
that I
weak
saw were not
argument.
pornographic at all.
Does that actually set you back 40
Second of
minutes?
all, there's nothing revenge
Okay,
about it.
everybody-
Revenge porn
okay.
is when some.
Okay, nobody can hear them currently. Okay, nobody can hear them. Let me be. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
They
fuck.
work together
Okay.
to get revenge against somebody breaking up.
No,
And
there
so
we
you
go.
guys all acting like, oh,
Can we
you're not even
stop
allowed
for
to
a
talk
second?
about
Can
it.
we
Blah,
stop
blah,
for a
blah, blah,
moment? Can we? Okay. Let me be. I didn't say this at the beginning, but let me be clear. When I'm trying to stop a conversation, like when I raise my voice, I'm trying to slow down the conversation because too many people are talking at once and nobody can hear anybody's points.
Oh,
So
that
everything that was
sucks.
just said,
Yeah.
nobody in chat heard that. Nobody knows.
Do
what
a
was
save
just
like
said for the
20
last 1
minutes
minute.
from
So
now.
lecture fan,
Right,
I'm
because
gonna give
everybody
you-
interrupted
wait,
me.
Give me a moment. I'm gonna give you a chance.
Maybe
to
even a
repeat
half
yourself,
hour.
right? And then we're
Okay,
going to
thank
move
you.
on to Joe Lewis. I just want to make that clear that when I speak up from going on now, even if you're the person talking, you that person or everybody quieting down means the conversation can move forward quicker. And I would appreciate it.
This is an easy one. This is where Dylan
Lecture
needs to
fan.
really
Okay.
like work on his assertiveness, and I have a feeling he'll get there. But if I were moderating, and this is the type of shit people were doing, I would literally come in and say, okay, here's the deal. I'm the moderator, so as soon as I start talking, everyone else shuts the fuck up. That's not a maybe. That's not a sometimes. It's a if I pipe in, everyone shuts the fuck up. That's it. And I would go so far as to just mute everybody if I had to.
And it's not revenge, because revenge porn is when somebody who was in a
There it
relationship with
is.
somebody that had
But
sexual
I would give
pictures
people the
gets
opportunity
broken up
first, and then I would mute them.
to try to
No
get revenge
question.
at the person for breaking up with them. And so you guys are just totally twisting the definition of these words, all just because it's a Democrat, and you're trying to make it out to be Fox News when it was the Daily Mail, because you guys got your big boogeyman about this.
is, like,
And it's all
dangerous
just BS. You guys switch the definitions of words to fit your narrative. So the whole question is just built on false premise after false premise after false premise.
Okay, it's gonna be Joe Lewis, Layman, and I saw Maddie raise their hand, so it's gonna be that order.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a clarifying question for Lecture Fan. The pictures were pixelated when shown on Fox News, one of which contained female nipples. Should Fox News have pixelated the photos when they showed them?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The only pictures I ever saw were pixelated, so they weren't porn.
Right. So I'm telling you that when Fox News showed the story, they had to pixelate the photos. You're saying that the photos that you saw, which were the photos that I probably saw as well, because we're talking about in the guise of Fox News, those were the pictures that they showed. So I'm asking you, should Fox News not have pixelated the photos if it wasn't revenge porn or pornographic?
No, they should have pixelated. I have no problem with them pixelating it.
Okay, so what photos did you see that you don't consider pornographic? Describe
Picture
them
of
to me,
like
please.
a picture of like Hunter Biden like grabbing some hair from some woman.
Right, and then there was
another one
also a
with-
picture of him reverse cowgirl with a woman completely
Oh,
exposed,
yeah.
her top completely exposed, and Fox
Yep.
pixelated that photo. That was included in the Daily Mail article, and Fox News also ran with that as well.
Right.
Are you
If
saying you
it's
did not see that photo?
I'm saying
Is
if
that what
it's
you're-
I'm saying if it's pixelated and you can't see any sexual content, it's not porn.
I'm asking you if you saw that photo.
I don't remember specifically. I think I saw 2 photos.
Thank you. You
But
did not.
both of them were pixelated.
Yeah.
Next is gonna be Layman.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
I think people just have
wanna
a
like, back and
real
forth with Lecture
fucking
Fan, just
problem
hopefully people don't
with
interrupt.
So does
So-
respecting
I totally get it.
actual
I
authority.
know.
And in
Uh,
this
Lecture Fan,
case,
so, like, I totally
it's
get the
his
frustration,
stream
like,
and his
so
fucking
just- I
roundtable.
interrupted you.
So
Sorry.
as the moderator of his own fucking roundtable,
So,
if he starts
basically,
talking, you shut the fuck up.
What is your definition of
That's it.
revenge porn first?
My definition of revenge porn is when there is explicit sexual activity taken by a couple when they're together, and then one of those people that's in the relationship keeps those photos, and then the other person breaks up with them, and then they post those pictures on the internet to get revenge at the other person for breaking up with them.
So, according to the criminal code, to my knowledge, revenge porn is when a person is nude, is exposing his or her like genital organs or whatever on camera, and is engaged in explicit sexual activity. So, if Hunter Biden if there was media of Hunter Biden and he was doing exactly that, which he was, and then somebody took that and they spread that information in order to defame him, why isn't that?
I hope you see this. Can you read that?
What are they getting revenge about? What are they getting revenge for?
Well, they would be getting revenge.
This is an incredibly important distinction.
Right? A Hunter Biden laptop and all that stuff. That would be the quote unquote like
revenge.
Yeah, fair enough.
How did that harm Fox
Do you see? Can you read this? Like, I'm not sure how it looks on. Hold on. I gotta check this real fast.
If you read the law, and I can link you it right here. That's how they define revenge porn. There's nothing about like
okay, yeah, you can read that.
A literal
Shit.
like narrative act of vengeance, like it's
yeah.
like,
That I wasn't sure because it looks pixely and shitty on my
that's not how I define
studio. But
yeah,
if
but
I
how you
created
define
the
it
output
doesn't
projector
matter.
and
It's how
had
the
it
law
actually
defines
full
it.
screen,
That's
I could
how the
definitely
law
tell.
Okay, but somebody
So
better
that's an
report this to the
incredibly
police
important
then, and the police
distinction.
better go
That's where this guy is taking the definition the wrong way. He's saying revenge porn can only be when you're actually engaged in what would be considered a pornographic activity between people who were in some sort of relationship, and then the relationship soured, and now they're using one of those people is using their material against the other. That is most of the time the case. That is typically how that works. That is not always how that works.
I guess my question to you, Lecture Fan, is why do you feel that Daily Mail and Fox News needed to include those photos if they felt that the story was strong enough on its own? What do the photos do to create strength to the story? My question.
I think the photos give weight to the idea that it actually is Hunter Biden's laptop. And remember, Joe Biden claimed this was Russian disinformation. The Democrat media claimed it was Russian disinformation and tried to suppress the story. Big tech, Democrat big tech, Silicon Valley big tech, far left-wing Democrat big tech that loves to suppress stories and censor things, censored this during the presidential election to try to keep the truth away from the American people. And I think the pictures tend to show that, wow, maybe that laptop actually is Hunter Biden's laptop, despite all of the disinformation the Democrats have been putting out.
Sure. Well, there's people who have photos of me on their laptop, but that doesn't mean that's my laptop. So Candace Owens, Sean Hannity,
he's got a point,
and Tucker Carlson, to name a few, described a bunch of other pieces of information that exist on this laptop. So why didn't they, if they felt the story was strong enough, lead with the actual evidence of the things that they're concerned about, which are the things I'm sure you and I would both be concerned about, which is corruption? Why not lead with those things, like the text messages and the emails?
You have to ask them, I guess.
Come on,
right.
Come on.
So
that's disingenuous.
My concern here is, it seems like Fox News is using these photos as a way to validate the existence.
You mean Daily Mail?
Fox News is also running the story as well, and it's been a nausea. Yeah. It doesn't matter where the source of a breaking story comes from. Everybody's covering it, but
you're pushing the story right now. You're covering the story. You're pushing it.
Fox News just did.
Dude, see what I mean? This guy plays such like semantics games, and this is what a lot of conservatives do, by the way, is play semantics games. So, fuck off. Like, just be a realist here, okay?
Why add the photos? Is my question to you.
Why does anybody ever add any photos to any story fucking ever? Because I don't know. There's this old saying that says a picture is worth 1,000 fucking words. So if you're trying to actually get the most efficiency inside the small amount of space that you got, you might put a fucking picture there because that can equate 1,000 fucking words.
Okay,
why not show the text messages
Well, we're
Okay,
lost.
give me a second. Okay, I really want to move on to Maddie. So Joe Lewis, could you ask this last part? We'll have one quick response, then
Yeah.
we'll move on to Maddie.
Yeah, I can't. Both you and CTV continue to pivot. Are you saying that the photos needed to exist for the story to be considered credible? That the evidence
No, it was credible
outside of those
before that.
photos.
But a
So
lot of
why do they
Democrats
need the
like you,
photos?
a lot of Democrats like you are still pushing
I'm a Republican lecture fan.
disinformation that would make Putin proud.
I'm a Republican lecture fan. I'm going to ask you again. Why didn't they just use the story as researched?
Because Democrats like
Without
you
the
are
photos.
pushing disinformation that would
He
make
ju-
He's
Putin
a
proud.
literal
my
Republican.
He
God.
literally just said he's a
Jeez.
Republican. Come
Like,
on.
honest to
Come on,
God.
dude.
Okay,
See,
let's
that's just
back
being
this up.
He's
disingenuous.
obviously trolling. He's not a
And-
Republican.
Insult 101 not found.
My entire
no
election
idea.
slate is
Sorry.
Republican, and I'm also running under Republican slate for my township council. When I go on my ballot, if I were in a nonpartisan district, I would be a registered Republican.
Okay.
Come on.
So,
but-
Really?
publicly speaking,
let's-
So
yeah.
since this is the
publicly
first time
speaking,
we've
I
met each
am
other,
a registered Republican.
Okay.
Right.
I just realized I could do
First
that.
time we've met.
That's
right.
all.
Everything before now, this moment has been Democrat. So
Oh, no,
like,
not
so
that.
you can't sit there and like try to take a different route whenever we actually fucking know each
Well,
No.
considering
Wow,
the
a
first-
communist that-
considering the
Wait,
first,
I thought you
whether
could-
or not-
considering the first
okay.
demo again, like
I'm
that
sorry,
doesn't
this,
it doesn't
like I wanted
yeah.
to say this doesn't matter.
It's a-
As
Yeah,
much
yeah,
as
yeah.
I would love to, like, let's all go around. And
What the
tell
fuck?
party
All
we're
right,
going
whatever.
to. I'm part of the National
AL.
Posadas Party or whatever. We're gonna go on to Maddie. Trihex, I got your name
Yeah.
down. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so one thing I really want to point out, because I'm someone who has had revenge porn happen to me. It is a devastating and humiliating experience. And I think it's really, quite frankly, dangerous to assert that a prior relationship is an absolute requirement for it to constitute revenge porn.
There you go.
Because that is it's just such a fucking dangerous precedent to set, because revenge porn can come in a lot of different forms and the law agrees. In fact, there have been cases
You use
of
someone's
people who
pornographic
have been
content to
found
get
guilty,
revenge on them
and they were not in
somehow.
any sort
Does
of
not
prior
require
romantic
the relationship
what revenge
that
porn
he's
is
trying
the
to paint
sharing and
as a
distribution
requirement.
of
It just
private,
that's not a
explicit
thing. That's what I was saying
without
earlier.
consent, with the sole intent to shame and humiliate.
Without
this
informed
case,
consent.
Without informed consent. That's a good.
That's important.
Thank you.
That's an
Yes,
important
that is
distinction.
important. Thank you, Layman.
Okay,
That's a
so
really
that's not what
important
Fox News
distinction.
did, 'cause
I'm
they
not
did
done
it
with my
because
point.
they're
You
Yes,
can
they did.
respond when I'm done with my
No,
point.
no,
You
they
can
didn't.
respond when I'm done with my point. So what I'm saying is this: the intention of the Daily Mail and then Fox News was specifically to shame and humiliate Hunter Biden, because it goes along the same line that they have been trying since Biden came to prominence. Was here's his like problematic son, since we have nothing of value to say about Joe Biden himself.
What amazes
Let's
me
go
about
for
this
his
whole
son,
fucking left
and
versus
hopefully
right
that'll-
thing is look at the guy's arrogance. Like, he blames the left for their arrogance on these things, and look at his fucking arrogance.
is sad.
Okay, so when you said you, who is that directed towards? Because got to give them time to respond.
That is a LCTR fan.
Okay, there's a
Okay,
lecture.
my-
fan.
There you
Just real quick response. That's not why Fox News or the Daily Mail is covering it. They're covering it because it's newsworthy, and it's newsworthy because it implicates the
course.
president of the United States.
Of course.
Okay, we're gonna move it on to Jengles.
But but
Please.
again, lecture fan, you keep
Okay,
pivoting
quick.
off of this, man.
No, let
It's
Tryhacks go. Let
ridiculous to me.
Tryhacks talk. My goodness.
Wait, it was Jangles next.
Pivot.
Oh.
Is Jangles
Okay.
counter than
I'm
Try?
Yeah.
Coming, baby. I ain't going nowhere.
Jangles.
Okay, so there's a few wonderful points. One, I love, like, it implicates Joe Biden. Hunter fucks, therefore Joe Biden is bad. I love that. I love that excuse. Also, I'm wondering about this. Like, the Fox News, why y'all moralizing over Fox News? It's not Fox News, it was Daily Mail. If I find something and then I show it to you, do I get, like, is it not my fault anymore because I'm not the one that found it? Like, no, like, Fox News, the biggest cable news show in the world, showing these images, you're gonna pretend like, oh, it's not
Welcome.
their fault because
This shit's
they didn't
important.
report it. Yes, they did report it. They're reporting on someone else's report, which is just a roundabout way of reporting it.
I'm
Okay, so
actually
you're guilty
glad
for
to have
reporting
been
it then.
a source of news
Absolutely.
for
I'm
you
showing his date on
indirectly.
the screen right now. Can't you see it? I'm showing his dick on screen right now. We're talking
To
about
the
the exact same
millions
thing.
of people
Fox News
watching
didn't
right
Here's the
now.
thing. We're
Yeah,
extremely
It is a
honest.
nice dick.
We're
Yeah,
extremely
It is
honest.
a nice dick.
Well, you made
We're
it clear that
coming
you didn't
on
watch
up.
any Fox
For
News
those
covering
of
the
you
story,
listening,
fan.
Okay,
So I would back
wait,
up
wait,
on
wait,
that.
wait,
Oh,
wait,
aside
okay,
from the
stop, stop,
Capitol
stop for a
raid,
second,
fair
stop for a
enough.
second.
yeah.
There's multiple people talking at once. Jangles, quickly finish, and then obviously, sorry, lecture. It's all directed at lecture, so I'm gonna give lecture time to respond as well. Jangles, quickly.
Okay, so you said that these pictures, the utility they got was, that proves it's Hunter Biden. Do you think the only pictures of Hunter Biden on that laptop were of his dick, of him fucking, of his meth mouth? Do you think seriously there was the only pictures that were on there to prove that this was Hunter Biden? No, in that case, why did they choose those pictures? Because they were embarrassing. Why did they want to embarrass Hunter Biden? To get revenge, to harm him. That is to get some sort of, I don't know, revenge for losing an election. Maybe it's that. I don't know.
Okay, next is gonna be lecture to respond, then counter, then try.
No, I'll let it pass.
Okay, CTV, actually, I know you also disagreed with it, and you haven't had time to talk for a second. Do you want to jump in here quick before I move it on?
Nah,
Okay.
that horse is already dead. So.
Counterpoints?
Nice.
All right.
Ow.
So, why did the Daily Mail and Fox News porn photos in order to spread this story? I can answer that question directly. It's because there's two things that people are interested in: sex and death. So, if you tie a bunch of titties to a story about public corruption, people are not going to forget the story about public corruption, because on top of that story, tied on top of it, is Hunter Biden smoking fucking, I don't think it was crack. It wasn't crack. It was meth. Smoking meth with two fucking prostitutes on his dick and mouth, and also him getting a foot job from Mulan. That's interesting. I'm not going to forget that for the rest of my fucking life. And when I think of the Mulan actress and everything that she's doing for the rest of her career, I'm going to think of her giving a foot job to Hunter Biden, and I'm going to think of Biden potential corruption. Okay? That's why they did it. Whether or not it's good is a different question.
Wow.
Maddie brought up, well, most people are shallow. Sole intent to shame and humiliate Hunter Biden, and nothing of value to say about Joe Biden. I don't know. So a sole intent. I don't know if that was actually part of the statute. I would just be curious.
It's
but
not
the
part
reason
of the statute. Yeah.
Okay,
But I'm
all
just
right,
saying
okay.
it. Yeah.
Then my point is withdrawn because
Sorry.
it's irrelevant. No, it's okay. And then CTV, you said a picture is worth 1,000 Jangles. I can't read your fucking doctor writing. Jesus Christ. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Basically, but this is the point that the lefties were bringing up. CTV. It's like,
fuck.
what does Hunter Biden's magnificent
Oh,
penis
she doesn't get
have to do
the
with
she
public
doesn't get the
corruption?
screen time right
And
now.
again,
Oh well.
my answer is that whenever I think of Hunter Biden's penis from now on, I will think of public corruption. And with that, I yield.
Mm-hmm.
I would to counter
It's magnificent.
a little
Okay.
bit
Quickly,
counterpoints.
Okay.
Yeah, I can be quick. I can be brief. This is why because one of the things that I heard when the sort of the right wing outrage came up, especially within Fox News, like Tucker Carlson brought up, why is it being reported anywhere else? And the same thing that happened with Hannity's, like, why is it being reported anywhere else? And I would say it's because the bases of the people who watch these news programs are totally different. So I don't think a CNN, MSNBC, or equivalent would air that part of the story with just photos as the lead. Now, this is why I don't know how strong this story is about the laptop at large, because maybe CNN and equivalent are just waiting for more information about the story and probably a better solidification about the existence of the laptop and where it came from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay, 100%. But the reason why I want to push back on the Trump presidency was not a normal presidency, okay? And I'll let this go in a quick second. But any other year besides the last year, the
Where'd
president's
Jangles go?
son doing hard drugs and banging whores and pictures of it being released would be a massive story. And this is where I think Lecture Fan is correct, is that it was essentially fucking buried, and it was buried intentionally.
Yeah,
So
there we go.
yield.
Okay.
Right.
So-
But again, like I don't think if the story is as serious as Lecture Fan is describing, it seems like you wouldn't need the photos at all. You could just lead with the information that you researched. Is that a fair thing to say?
Sure, but people, as I mentioned before, people are shallow and people love tits and ass. So, sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, they
It's
sure
not
do.
justified though.
Next is going to
They
be
sure do.
Trihex,
No.
the most patient panelist who's punctual.
Oh, that's cool. Try hacks. Try hacks.
Right, he
Well, it may come off a little bit as like a whataboutism here, but I would say that you may see the push for the Hunter Biden credibility of corruption going on here. To me, it comes off as like, well, if we're talking about possible corruption, then I have to ask you, where was all this whenever there was like
Hey,
definitive
life
or more
hacks.
assertive or
Random
more
random
like
question
definitive?
for you. How do you feel about camera setups like this, where they're such short focal lengths, and the top of the person's head is cut off by the top edge of the, like, with the way it's cropped, it crops out the top of his head.
And one could argue that the ethics of that are completely like batshit crazy. But like,
Sure.
where was the coverage on that? And the coverage there non-existent. The coverage for this comparatively a lot more, right? So
Could you
Sure.
imagine if a sex tape with Ivanka Trump would have came out with her having drugs next to a bed and all this? Could you imagine what the news
Oh.
media would have been like?
I would have been
24/7 coverage for
wow.
months.
I would have been
why
I
would we be
know.
comparing hypotheticals when we're focusing on what
Would have
already has
been
actually
just
happened?
I would have
On
been
CTV,
totally
we had
sympathetic to that
a-
if that happened.
I mean, we've seen
we
the
should have
former
provided
had a-
Yugoslavia
wait, wait, wait,
instantly.
okay.
Absolutely.
Let's let Trihex finish.
And no one
his
really
point.
No, that was the whole
That was
point.
just
Like,
a hypothetical. Okay.
I
Yeah.
would like to answer.
Same. Okay.
Alex, thank you for the live grenade. I
Glad
appreciate
to know.
it. Counterpoints. You want to say something?
Yeah, no, I
like
would like to respond
proper
directly to that.
framing, at least in a photographic sense, and actually even in, like, when it comes to interviews and things like that, is more like what I have, where there's just a little bit of space above the head, like about an inch or two on screen. This is like, I know that this is technically more optimal. So like some people do have it to where like there's a bunch of space above them like this. Technically that's not right either. Like you want to minimize your dead top space. And so I was just curious about your opinion on the aesthetic.
Because he doesn't have any qualifications that I know of to be working on a board of an oil and gas company besides being the president's son. And with Ivanka or Jared Kushner or any of these other like nepotistic appointments or whatever, I don't know their credentials. And if I found out that like very specifically they were pocketing fat salaries while being completely incompetent at their job, I would I'm not a MAGA person. I would be just as upset and disgusted.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right.
But that's me.
Well, there you go.
Same.
I imagine even amongst photographers, there will be
if I prepared,
varying
get your citation for the
pieces of
normal amount
advice
wealth
on
they
how much
accumulate.
headroom
I think they like tripled their total net worth
is
during
optimal, but
during the 4 years.
yeah,
Mhm.
Trump being
he has like
president,
no
correctly.
headroom.
And yeah, and of course, usually in that position, you're not gonna do anything as stupid as like just blatantly make a shitload of money. You're gonna like use that to like facilitate connections. That way, you can make all the accumulation of wealth off camera post presidency, or use it to just kind of like continue to clout chase and then like seek a position.
What kind of
probably
photography did your mom do? Out of curiosity,
Trump's terms over
Yeah.
here.
or does she
Yeah,
do?
absolutely. And
He has
here's the thing,
negative
this is
headroom.
where,
Yeah,
I actually
exactly.
even some liberals, like Destiny, over whether or not like money in politics is a problem. So, for instance, I actually kind of came up with an idea that basically every single politician should put all of their assets once they run for office and win an elected office into a
Oh, okay.
blind
Very
trust that's
cool.
basically a 401k. They should no longer be able to buy private stock because we see public corruption. So, for instance, I want to say
Yeah.
it was Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, through privileged access to an initial public offering, went from being worth $10 million to being worth $212 million with a single purchase. I don't know how you don't call that public corruption. And basically, well, last point. So basically, what I'm saying is all elected officials inside the United States of America should put their assets in a blind trust as soon as they become an elected official. They should receive a salary for the rest of their life.
Oh
They
my
should be
God.
audited
Oh, I'm
every single
done.
year. And if they or their family are receiving
We're good.
additional monies besides their salary and besides their assets in a public trust, then they should be basically thrown in jail for 20 years. That's my personal solution.
Okay. You mean at the outset of COVID?
Actually, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What I was going to say, I'm sorry, am I cutting someone off right now?
No, it's fine. Go on.
Okay. What I was going to say is, I completely agree with you. I agree. You're right. Nancy Pelosi is pretty corrupt in that regard here. She has had, if I recall correctly, no less than Amazon and Tesla stock, both having them right before boom bust cycles came into play here. The
Well, sure.
The ability to be able to freely trade while also being able to advocate for policy that does benefit certain like sections of the entire economy.
Oh, okay,
Is a
gotcha.
complete
How come she
invitation
stopped?
for
Oh, yeah. I mean,
conflict of
okay.
interest and ample
So,
corruption.
wait, were you
I'm even
homeschooled?
go as far as say here that I'm not opposed to how like the 185K a year salary that any given House rep member, Congress member, Senate member makes. I'm opposed to the fact that they make that much money and like which should be enough to deter you from corruption in the first place because you make a good living making that much money, but also like making that much money and still have the power to like
Okay.
trade, influence trade,
Very
and just
cool.
like not really have any kind of like incentive to not just want more because the greed just kind of scales whenever you're given that much power and that much
Do you
leverage,
feel
I would
like
say.
that was
Sure,
a net
and I'll be
benefit
really quick.
or
Basically, my solution
detriment
to
for
that,
you?
because these are people. When we elect public officials,
Oh, that's
they
all right.
have to
Your
hold
responses are actually coming through
millionaires
pretty
and
quick.
billionaires to account. They have to feel like they belong in the room. I as a private citizen, probably within the next year, I might be making half or 3/4 of that salary. And I would have difficulty walking into a room of millionaires and billionaires and telling them what's what. So I would actually be okay with, again, with my proposal. Basically, they put all their assets into a blind trust. They receive their paychecks for the rest of their life. They get audited every single year.
Nice.
If their family
Okay.
or they are found
Very
in
cool.
order to be taking money in order to gain additional wealth, they go to jail for 20 years. I would be perfectly okay with essentially doubling or tripling their salary. That way, there's even then whatever money they're losing from being wealthy, it's a public service. You are serving the public. That is your job. If you want to be rich, go be a private citizen. Yield.
Okay.
I completely agree with that. I'm not even mad about that one either.
I saw Jangles. Maddie, did you raise your hand?
Yep.
So Jangles, Maddie, and then we'll probably start wrapping this topic up since it seems to have calmed down a little bit. Jangles.
I kind of like that feedback, by the way.
So everybody sucks. Biden sucks. Trump sucks. Republicans suck. Democrats suck. I just wonder, like, what does this have to do with with Hunter Biden's dick? So just to try to bring it back to the original topic, one, I think I showed that this is pretty definitively revenge porn about it. It doesn't affect the investigation whatsoever. I'm not going to say that having the reason that Fox News, and I'm going to say Fox News because I like to be correct. Fox News showed those images is because they are going to bring a lot of attention to the topic. Now, you could either say, hey, bringing more attention to the topic might affect the Justice Department investigation. Therefore, they won't just sweep things under the rug because it's going to be in the public consciousness. That could be true. I won't rule that out as a possibility. But what I think is far more plausible is that this was for humiliation purposes. They wanted to humiliate Hunter Biden, and by proxy, they wanted to humiliate the President of the United States. You brought up a really good point that I'm really surprised no one's brought up yet. Was it worth ruining that Malone actress? Why the fuck is it worth ruining her reputation? Like getting her, now she's gonna get a fuck ton of flack for this. Like, is it worth bringing her into this? To what? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? You don't have to like drag her name to this. You don't know that this was like some sort of quid pro quo. Maybe two powerful people got together and wanted to bump their naughty bits together. Like, none of this has anything to do with the investigation that this is supposedly all about.
Sure. And just very quick rebuttal. You actually said my rebuttal, which is basically keep it in the public consciousness so it doesn't get buried. That's you said my point.
Okay. And we're gonna wrap it up probably after Maddie. Maddie.
Yeah, I agree. If corruption and fighting corruption is the ultimate goal for whether it's a news organization or whether it's folks on the right, then that's a noble goal because counterpoints. I completely agree. I get disgusted when I see people like Nancy Pelosi who are supposedly supposed to be fighting for the things that I care about and then turn around and use their position to basically do legalized insider trading. I hate that. And corruption is what creates the rot at the core of our political establishment because it's such a valuable position to be in and to build up your own wealth. But again, if that were really the issue, there are a number of things that we could do that the right could push for and support that would have a material impact on corruption in Washington. But that is not the case here. The case here is to get a hit on Joe Biden by attacking Hunter as a proxy, to humiliate him, to slut shame him. And I think it's really good that we brought up the actress because she didn't provide her consent either to be brought into all of this. And now her career is destroyed she has family and people that are probably horrified that they're seeing this, and she didn't give her consent for that revenge porn to be released either. So it's just disgusting. It's morally abhorrent, and it's frankly like it's just kind of laughable to try to argue that this was all released under the guise of really just being concerned about corruption. It's so transparent and like pathetic.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wants to say any last words before we do any statements? Okay. Any statements? We're gonna do about 30 seconds for each person. Jangles, you're first.
I think I said what I needed to said. There was no reason to bring those up, and I didn't hear any convincing reason. It was all the entire purpose, and that's what everyone was kind of like dancing around to, is because it brings attention to the laptop story that people wanted to talk about, which makes me think like I don't know if that laptop story is going to amount to much. Like if this is what you got to do to bring it into the public eye, because I mean. Counterpoint. You said you rebutted me, but like, is having it in the public eye going to affect the Justice Department investigation? There could be a chance, but I don't think that's likely. I don't think that's anything close to like how the Justice Department works, or at least I like. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I think that they actually do their jobs. But so I didn't get any satisfactory rebuttals. So I'm going to consider this a win. It was a shitty thing to do, and it's morally repugnant to try to defend it.
Okay, I'm going to throw it over to Layman.
Regardless of who it is, regardless of who distributed it, anybody who distributes revenge porn is a piece of shit and should be tried before the law and condemned to a prison term. As for and you know, keeping in with the actual topic of the conversation, whether or not revenge porn should have been released and not all this bullshit about the laptop or whatever the fuck. I know it's tied to it, but would have been nice. Focus more on the ethics part of it. And yeah, I think that there are many situations. This is the conservative in me that I wish lecture fans shared, which is to prescribe a policy in which we actually have a federal authority enact morality in this instance, where we condemn people and we sentence somebody to a federal sentence for revenge porn, because it's fucking disgusting. And that's all I got to say. Be more of a conservative lecture fan.
Well, right after that, it's going to be lecture fan. Well, lecture fan, I think a lot of people are going to say things that disagree with you. Do you want to wait till the end?
No, I'm good. I got it. The leftists did a great job of studiously avoiding the real topic, which is Joe Biden's corruption. If you actually watch the Fox News clips, if you actually watch the Fox News clips, every single one of them tied it back to Joe Biden's corruption and how this ties into Joe Biden and his using Hunter Biden to peddle influence. This is all about Hunter Biden. Now, the leftists, they want to talk about revenge porn. And if we wanted to have a discussion about revenge porn and how as a society and a culture, we should encourage people to not put themselves into a position where they could become victims of revenge porn, we could talk about the First Amendment implications of revenge porn.
I don't know how you would, because I don't know anything about the game, but see if you can.
How we shouldn't, as a society and culture, we shouldn't encourage people to allow naked pictures of themselves to get taken. We could talk about all those issues, but that's not what this is about. The left wants to make it about that so they don't have to talk about the real issue, which is the censorship by big tech. Big tech censored it. The Democrat media censored this story, and the free speech implications of what's going on in our society with trying to censor and purge information. Joe Biden lying to the American people that this is Russian disinformation just to try to cover up his own corruption scandal. That's the real story. That's why it's important. And all the leftists trying to switch it around to make Hunter Biden the victim and to moralize about revenge porn is preposterous.
Okay, next is going to be counterpoints.
Yeah, so I'm sorry that I got away from share Hunter Biden's magnificent penis. The more interesting part of me, or part of this conversation to me, is the public corruption, because frankly, I don't give a shit about Hunter Biden's penis.
There you go.
I care about whether or not he's taking money in order to peddle influence on behalf of his father. That's what I care about. And then basically, I think that's a more important thing. I hope the DOJ actually does conduct an investigation. Jangles, I wish I shared your enthusiasm and idealism in reference to the DOJ. I just don't at this point. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm happy that Hunter Biden has lived a full life of smoking methamphetamine and smoking crack cocaine and getting foot jobs from A-list movie actresses. Good for him. But if he, in any way, his conduct compromised the office of the president, I am interested in that investigation. And this probably wasn't the best way to do it. I think everybody who's making the moral argument against revenge porn has a point.
But at the same time, I think if you look at it from a real politics standpoint, the reason why they attached tits, ass, and penis to this story is because they want to draw attention to it. So yield.
Okay. Now I'm going to throw it over to Joe Lewis.
There's a lot of nuance that could have existed in the original topic, and I think we did a good job doing that. I usually don't address panelists directly within this, but this is kind of the lecture fan. So he was added to the conversation within the group chat for this very panel yesterday at 7:30 p.m. If you wanted to have a conversation about the things that we did and not the actual topic, and the actual topic that Dylan posted, which I'll read verbatim: Hunter Biden, Fox News, revenge porn. Should these have been released? He had over 24 hours to clarify it. That's a level that he wanted to do. I think moving forward, if there's parts of conversations that we want to get explored, we should probably put that in the group chat instead of waiting sort of last minute using the group chat as this way of just getting things logistically. If there's parts of this story that you feel are important that we should have nuance on, I think that using the group chat to the best of our ability is a good procedure moving forward, because those things that Lecture Fan described, I agree with you. But unfortunately, in terms of the research was on, again, reading verbatim: Hunter Biden, Fox News, revenge porn. Should these have been released?
Okay, next is going to be Maddie.
This was a clear case of trying to masquerade revenge porn as a legitimate critique of government corruption. It's crystal clear to anyone who is well aware of the tactics and rhetoric that's frequently used by Fox News, by the Daily Mail, and by the GOP at large, that that is exactly what it is. There's no question. I'm a bit taken aback with the victim blaming that I heard by some folks on this panel about revenge porn. It rings a little too close to, well, you shouldn't have worn that. What did you think was going to happen? And I think that's extremely fucking dangerous and is the kind of rhetoric and attitude that leads to people feeling unsafe and other people feeling that it's okay to target and harass people because they want to harm them and slut shame them and humiliate them. So I'm a little taken aback by that. In any case, I agree with counterpoints that Hunter Biden has a magnificent penis and is objectively hot, and that's.
Do you have any studies to?
this.
I have a question. You've asserted that claim multiple times. Do you have any studies to back that up?
I will send you. I'll send you my personally researched archive of reasons why Hunter Biden is hot.
Thank you. Throwing it over to CTV.
All right, so we've been all the way around the room on this thing, and at the end of the day, right, every individual has a responsibility, right? And if you choose to get in front of a camera and do things, right, then you also understand that if you don't control that media and where it's at, if it gets outside of your control, it can go anywhere, which is exactly why you should be careful about the decisions that you make, right? And that goes for anybody with regard to anything, pretty much, right? So before you actually commit to do something, you need to understand what the implications, how this information can travel, where it can go, everything else, right? So because of that, you can get into the political talk about why it was done, this and that. With, I agree with counterpoints and Lecture Fan that, like, what I'm most interested in is the actual corruption and the connections there, but that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Next, I'm going to throw it over to Trihex.
Yeah, so unlike Maddie, I'm gonna go ahead and go ham here on Hunter Biden's magnificent penis. So I actually can bring up a lot of reasons why this is actually it is a top tier penis. So first off, here, if we observe here over the last 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, here the worth and stonks when it comes to dad bod has blown up here at like 5,000%. Dad bod was not even a Google term before like 2013. Look in 2020 now. Like the pictures show you clearly here. Could Hunter have like an 8-pack and have 2 V's and all the other shit? Totally. But the dad bod is meta, is in, and it's him trying to not try. So top tier. Love that. If you've seen here a metric engagement on like male porn star OnlyFans here, we can go into how the art of the dick pic, that obviously the low light not trying scenario works really well for Biden's pictures right here. So whether or not the laptop's actually stolen, whether or not the pictures are actually, who took them? Is he really even trying here? Clearly, it's not a laptop webcam in the first place. So it's kind of like there's a whole lot going on here to really give the amateur angle of like you're not really trying, but I still want you to know though on the real though. So Hunter Biden's top tier on the dick pic meta for sure.
True.
But
Wonderful.
Also, doing
that I don't think that was ethically the dick pics were being explicitly. I'm sorry, dick pics. Or the pictures were needed to be distributed explicitly, neither on Daily Mail or on Fox News. It does seem like a prop piece in order to make Joe Biden look bad. And I already had other concerns with that investigation in the first place. And anyway, here, which is currently ongoing anyway. And also, it seems like a really big slap in the face when we have like actual corruption from the past 5 years, and then this gets like the amount of attention it does when over a hypothetical or a possible when there was a definitive such, in my opinion, elsewhere in the Trump administration comparatively. So, and with that, I conclude.
One question, Trihex. In the group chat, you used the word "I have to tinkle." Why specifically the word tinkle? Why that of all the words you could have used?
Well, you rather I say urinate? I like tinkle because it's funny.
It's cute.
I could have said tinkle. I could have said I could have said TT. I could have said potty.
You could have also included it in a rhyme like tinkle on your head.
Yeah, I mean, I make sure to describe my body in the ways that I think best represent it. So I use drain the sea dragon.
Hey.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the. Okay. You know what?
I didn't use piss because I feel like piss is like an assertive verb, and it reminds me more of like R. Kelly or other like sex crime shit anyway. So
that's fair.
I try to actually not use piss anymore, honestly.
We're gonna move on to the next topic.
I try not to piss.
We're gonna move on to the next topic, which is recently Russia has, according to the Ukrainian government, and according to multiple sources as well as video evidence, that the Russian government has moved possibly up to 80,000 troops to the border with Ukraine. They famously took Crimea during the Obama administration with unmarked soldiers. What, Layman?
No, sorry, my camera went out of focus, and I'm trying to autofocus it back.
Got it.
Don't ignore me. I'm gonna.
Okay,
just
got it. Okay, so they famously took Crimea during the Obama administration, and they have supported rebels in the Donbass region. So the question has come up after the Biden administration has spoken to President Zelensky. Should the United States be supporting Ukraine, even though it's not a member of NATO, if shit hits the fan? We have, and for everybody in chat, just for their personal knowledge, we've already sent some offensive military support, which is something that did not happen under the Obama administration, and I don't know if it did happen under the Trump administration. I have to go back and check, including counter-artillery radar. So, should we be supporting Ukraine, or is it not really our business? I'm going to start in the bottom right-hand corner this time.
Oof.
TV.
Well, Ukraine constitutes a large area of land, and Belarus, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, right? All in there constitutes the Eastern Corridor, right? I'm asking, right? Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So historically, whenever Russia has started advancing right to the west, Ukraine becomes a big staging ground for them to be able to start exerting power further in, right? And that right there is the main concern with Russia. Now, beyond that, like I said at the beginning, I didn't get very much heads up, so I'm kind of looking to see what the rest of the room has to say on it.
Okay. Next is going to be counterpoints.
Yeah. So I'm going to have the same take that I've had for. Basically, I think Biden should do a unilateral phone to Putin and say, "Hey, you can keep the Russian majority areas of Donetsk. You can keep Crimea. But if you advance into Ukrainian sovereign territory with troops, we're gonna fucking airstrike the shit out of them." I think we absolutely should be supporting Ukraine in their efforts against Russia if Russia chooses to expand. And it's not anything personal. It's just the attempt to say that the 20th century
ideas about invasion and taking territory by force should be antiquated by this point. We should compete culturally. We should compete economically. War should be largely off the table, except for in like very niche circumstances. So yeah, I would basically call Vladimir Putin directly, say, hey, you're saying that all these dudes are volunteers. If they leave Russian majority areas, ethnic and linguistic Russian majority areas, we're going to blow them to fucking kingdom come. But besides that, feel free to keep what you got already. Bye.
Okay, I'm going to move it over to Lecture Fan.
Yeah, I think the U.S. should support Ukraine. They're one of our allies, and they're fighting against Russia, and Russia is aggressive and is trying to take their territory. And Russia and China are in an axis of totalitarian, authoritarian regimes in a global struggle against America. I think America's got a lot of problems domestically to fight against to promote freedom and liberty, but Ukraine is certainly a part of the international battle. I think Trump was right to try to get NATO to increase its expenditures and try to get NATO to do more. But absolutely think that we should be helping Ukraine. I don't necessarily think we need to go put boots on the ground or anything like that. But doing offensive cyber warfare attacks against Russia would be one way we could go.
Yep. Next, I'm going to throw it over to Layman.
Yeah, so I just want to make it clear to everybody watching that I don't know shit about foreign policy, and which is why I am perplexed that I was invited here. But that's okay. I love it, and I'm really grateful that I was. So,
could have said
from a
no.
little I know about the pardon.
Could have said no.
No, but I love the show, and I want to come on and talk about the other shit. But I love you, Dylan, and I really, really appreciate you inviting me on here. Sorry about the snark. I'll cut it out. So, yeah. So, as far as this topic goes, from what little I was able to look into, because I'm not American, so American foreign policy isn't something I keep up with too much. It's really, really hard for me to decide what to do, but I think I actually agree with Connor and even a little bit Lecture Fan with the whole like US getting involved and trying to see if like sanctions can be imposed on Russia so they don't aggress on Ukraine any further. I don't know what else to do. I don't know if that will lead to good outcomes. So for this particular conversation, I think I'm mostly going to leave it to the Americans to talk about the America stuff. So have at it.
Wonderful. Next,
I'll be
I
right
want
back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Over to Trihex.
Yo, actually, I thought the way Connor put it was actually a really good way I would look at it too here. Rather than just like try to retaliate and throw like counter American troops in Ukraine, try to meet up to the border with whatever all these Russian deploys are, I would agree we work from the top up and like rather than like deploy first and try to like buck back to the potential of them trying to like come further in on the land. I would agree. Just like you would speak to like I don't know Putin, Russian military officials, whoever, and call them out and make them have to like be held accountable. Hey, why are y'all? Why am I hearing about 80,000 troops on the border of Ukraine? Why? What are you planning right there? What's going on right there? Is there like you don't just do that for no reason? So what's your like public surface level context over why you're doing this right now? Because it seems kind of I'm not gonna say sus, kind of abnormal. And you kind of go from there. If they give you some bullshit answer, okay, then we know they're not going to give us really any legitimate information. So let's go ahead and like make our own plan and get in there. Because but obviously in that context, so I'm obviously very anti-war. I would only want to initiate on offensive measures in the effort that we were attacked first. But in a situation where you know about the enemy or enough about the opposition that they're very probable to do some crazy shit, no reason why we shouldn't use all our fuckload of military bases to kind of like figure out some plan right now and keep Russia on check if they're trying to like buck out pretty hardcore.
Okay.
Ultimately, here just like have a bigger shield rather than like try to like do anything. But again, we do that with intelligence and context. We don't just throw an equal amount of people and drones on the border and just fuck the whole country up and whatnot. So nuance. Hopefully, it comes off clear right there. But yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna throw it over to Maddie.
Yeah, admittedly, similar to Layman, international relations, international policy is not always my strong suit, but I've been learning a lot about it recently because it has been a massive topic of importance, especially considering the situation in Ukraine and Russia. I think given the geographic location and its strategic position, I agree with not only President Biden's decision to offer unwavering support to Ukraine, I also am optimistic because of NATO's assertion that they too would support Ukraine behind an increase of Russian hostility or Russian aggression. Normally, I prefer the method of not being interventionist unless all diplomatic efforts have failed.
It's called exhaustion of administrative remedies.
Russia presents an interesting conundrum for that approach.
In legalese.
Because you can almost guarantee that in any sort of diplomatic negotiation with Russia, they are not coming in good faith. And they will likely not do what they say they're going to do. And I base this on their historical actions. I really hope that we can come to a diplomatic solution and that our presence and NATO's presence in the area will suffice to cause the Russians to back down. But it's a really sticky situation. And I look forward to the discussion.
Okay, I'm gonna throw it over to Jangles.
Yeah, so Layman's gone. I was gonna tell him not to feel bad because I too am a complete ignoramus, or at least I was a complete ignoramus on foreign policy. But then I did 80 minutes of research earlier today. So really, I'm just coming on the stream to let Putin and Biden know where to find me. So based on that incredible amount of research, so I think we've underestimated Russia a little bit in the past decade or so, under the illusion that since like the Cold War kinda is, I guess, over now, and Russia is no longer a world superpower, so they're no longer a domestic or international threat, but they certainly don't want to see themselves that way. So Obama had kind of a timid response to Russia's aggression, like throughout the entirety of his presidency. It like started like just as his presidency started, like they invaded Georgia. We kind of didn't do a whole lot about that, and then like obviously the invasion of Crimea, was just like stop that. Here's the sanction that isn't really going to hurt you all that much, and then we can see a direct through line to that that aggression, that unmitigated like fuck you, I want to do what I want, all the way through the election interference in 2016, 2018, and then eventually into 2020. So it's pretty clear that Putin thinks that he can do whatever the fuck he wants. He's like that kid who, like, you say, now if you do this, you're not allowed to watch TV, and then he does it, and then he goes and watches TV. So yeah, I don't know what the cause should be. I feel like as a lefty on the internet, I'm supposed to say no. We're not we shouldn't be in any other places. We should be against all foreign wars. And I do want to be a good lefty, and I want everybody to like me. But I also like it when like good things happen. And I don't know if like letting Russia getting a whole lot of like unfettered influence in the area would be a good thing. So I don't know. So I've exhausted the entirety of my expertise in this opening statement. But hopefully, I'll think of something else.
Okay, and we're gonna throw it over to Joe Lewis.
Yeah, the U.S. is. Yeah, I'm muted. The U.S. has provided financial, military, and political assistance to Ukraine through things like sanctions, joint military drills, and other methods. It does not seem like the current involvement will diminish in the near future. It appears to only be getting stronger and more complicated.
That it?
That was such a odd ending.
Okay. So I know that a lot of people have expressed that maybe they haven't done a lot of research on this topic, so this might end up being one of the shorter ones. But you all may engage.
Yeah, so I kind of want to articulate this because this is a moral framework that I'm into trouble with, because I defend American hegemony. I defend American empire. I think we do plenty of fucked up shit. And I have no illusions about us doing fucked up shit. But at the same time, this is the world. This is geopolitical balance of power politics. This is a multipolar world with Russia, Iran, North Korea, China, and Venezuela being, and Cuba to some extent, being countries that are out of pocket as far as like the world hegemony under America. And basically, I would not want to see any of these other powers in charge, because as fucked up as we are, I'm pretty sure they're more fucked up. If you look at the history of the USSR, I think that's pretty clear. If you look at what the CCP is doing right now, I think that's pretty clear. So basically, my fear or anxiety with a timid population that has been basically given America first rhetoric for half a decade at least, and probably pushing another decade, is that they're going to say, oh, well, Ukraine's no concern of ours. Fuck them. Let these fucking weird Eastern Europeans figure it out. But the reason why we haven't done that in the better part of a century is because when you're a pure isolationist, that basically lets the world fester. It lets cancers fester, and then you get sucked into world wars.
Yep.
So the bet of the Cold War and the bet of the new Cold War with China right now is basically that it's better to be engaged, involved, lean against other powers so they don't have a monopoly on global power, and then just make sure that it doesn't get so bad that we have to send 500,000 people to go kill another 500,000 people, and as a result, tens of millions of people die in open conflict. And with that, I yield.
Yeah, so I think the American people need to wake back up to the idea that, like, the Cold War might have ended because Russia and its economy failed, but the ideology of those people and their commitment to it, right, didn't, right? They kept persevering and they've kept pushing this communist ideology out of Russia. And now it's honestly just eating away here in the United States, and it's forcing a lot of division between our own people to the point to where it's like, when are the American people going to understand that they are purposefully trying to cause division and civil war amongst ourselves, because that's the only way that we're ever going to be able to be taken down is from the inside.
I'm
So
kind of
soon as it gets past the point where the people start understanding the ideology hasn't stopped, the war didn't fucking stop, these people kept doing the same shit, then we can start having some real conversations about how to be able to tackle the world stage. And we've got to do so with that kind of understanding as Americans.
I guess I maybe agree with that. This is why I'm kind of confused because it seems like, um, God, how do I word this thought? This is really tricky, so I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. I don't think America is the best individual to involving itself in Ukraine. Unfortunately, it seems like we're kind of stuck in a situation. Like we promised Zelensky support. We promised Zelensky support, whether it be like giving some incentives within NATO. We gave them like military support, like we helped sending ships over to the Black Sea. The Black Sea is a very pivotal part of that region in terms of control. And meanwhile, it seems like Erdogan, Turkey's president, cares more about the the integrity of Ukraine. Like they pledged its support, they pledged military support, and it seems like within that region, I'm simplifying it in just interest of time, that they're actually putting money where their mouth is. And this is a country that's kind of been sort of brushed off, and it seems to be that like sure there's like an Americanized view of this internal conflict, but I would argue that this is more of a battle, like not really a battle. Well, it could be, but it seems like Turkey has a better push within that region than the United States, because it seems to be on its face that Erdogan is doing more for Ukrainian citizens than President Biden nor Donald Trump ever would.
I sorry, just really quickly. Like, I mean, number one, they have a regional interest in that because obviously they're a lot fucking closer than we are. And number two, as a NATO member, which honestly, like, I would be on the verge of like reclaiming Constantinople and Istanbul and kicking them the fuck out. That's what I would like to do. But fucking Turkey is basically not only are they a regional player, but it's also probably a way that they could have historical historical ties, because I almost guarantee you, if I was to Google Ukrainian Turkish relations, I could probably find something that was probably fairly interesting. So since they have a historical reason to be vested in the country, maybe it's more politically palatable for resources, for political will, for force to be distributed through Turkey. Whereas if you have it directly from the United States, oh, hey, Ukraine, here's billions of dollars to fight your new war. Hey, Ukraine, here's our latest technology. Hey, Ukraine, join NATO. That could be quite provocative to Russia, considering it literally shares a border. So that would be my question: is like, what is historical ties and what is optics? And I'm unaware of the degree to which either one of those factor in.
Yeah, and I'll send you some stuff after today because I don't want to get like too in the weeds of just like doing diatribes about Turkish relations relative to Ukraine, relative to the United States. Because it seems like we're on like everybody's on like different levels of understanding on this. I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as possible. Um, I think they're even part of NATO. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then you have the United States, who's also a NATO ally. Obviously, I agree with you, Counter, that like proximity
Wait,
to the
did you say
situation
Ukraine is part of
definitely
NATO?
plays. Yeah, I really slipped. I should have said I
Ukraine is
meant the
not part
United
of NATO.
States. Yeah, I meant the United States as part of NATO. Thank you for that correction. And but to something that Dylan might be alluding to is that like that seems to be the end game, right? And even like the end game for Ukraine seems to be part of NATO in some capacity, and there might be some certain types of rules and regulations for that to happen. Now, based on the wording that I could find about eligibility of NATO, it seems like, and I would have to find better documents, that having no conflict in your region is a factor in that. Again, don't fucking quote me on that. But if I'm in a region and I'm trying to create a better like justification to be part of NATO, and I'm Russia who wants the Ukraine, then maybe I'm going to make sure I'm going to provoke in such a way to try to create a response. Like the United States doesn't have a good history of handling things in a very sort of cool and keel manner. So maybe this is an attempt to bait a party out that we might be seeing, whether that be Turkey or the United States. Does that make sense, Counterpoints?
Okay,
It does.
Quickly, I want to do something. Okay, so I want to let Counterpoint finish this point. But it seems that basically everybody here either doesn't know a lot about the topic or like didn't spend like a lot of time like through the week reading it. A lot of that may have to do with the fact that some people, we had some last second cancellations. Would the room be overly objective to this if we were to basically wrap this up quickly and just move on to the next topic, since it doesn't seem there's any like real like opinions kind of going around?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Counterpoints.
yeah, so I'm perfectly okay with that just for my vote. But then my only point would basically be that one of my frustrations with this conversation specifically is because I feel like Russia is just kind of like automatically de facto assumed to be a bad guy. I mean, obviously they do bad shit. They like literally inject people with fucking like radioactive materials. They assassinate people. They, there's an oligarchy, that seems perfectly fine with pushing people out, killing their competitors, all that kind of shit. But that's not like a moral compass through which we judge our allies. We have plenty of allies that do the same thing. Saudi Arabia being a prime example. So I would be interested, I've said this in a previous conversation, I would actually be interested in opening the door to Russia. NATO is a political and military alliance specifically meant to gatekeep against like Russian aggression into, Europe. But at the same time, I would be interested in saying, hey, Russia, you're Christian, we're predominantly secular, but we have a Christian history. You're supposedly capitalist right now, at least a capitalist oligarchy. We're mixed economy capitalist. You have energy interests in the region. We both like guns. Why don't you just, make an AK in 5.56 by 45, and then you and we can all basically go after China. That would be one of my phone calls, but that's my last point that I think is of interest. And then if the room is bored with the conversation, I'm perfectly happy to move on to the next topic.
Okay.
I really want to. There's so much I want to counter on that statement, but I know there seems to be different levels. Sorry, CCB.
Well, I don't know why at this point Putin would want, if he was going to do something, why would he side with Biden over Xi Jinping?
Okay.
Maybe because we didn't open the door to him.
We are going to move on to the next topic because it feels like maybe there's two people in here who have like some knowledge on the topic. So we're going to move on to the last topic, which
I mean, there's some takeaways to what.
Let's move it on.
Okay, so going on to the last topic. Okay, and the last topic is, and I'm sure us having more time for this won't be a problem because it is a big topic with the recent different police shootings. I had a list, but now the list has expanded, so I'll just say with the recent police shootings and the basically the pullover of Army Lieutenant Nazariel. There has been a renewed debate about police abuse in the country, particularly around the idea of resisting arrest. Is it the citizen's job not to resist arrest, or the cop's job not to use excessive force, or both? I know that's a broad question. That's the point. So, we're going to start in the bottom quarter with Maddie.
If this was a reasonable panel, this would only take about a minute.
That there is a massive issue in this country with police violence and the police's propensity to escalate a situation using violent force. that issue is compounded when you are from a marginalized community. So this is why we see a lot of people getting super up in arms and frustrated every time an unarmed Black man is murdered, because it's a theme that is all too common and so avoidable. I think a lot of this falls under the responsibility of how police are trained. It falls under the responsibility of the police base essentially seeing resisting arrest as a coverall for that allows them to then use a disproportionate amount of force, even on calls that are nonviolent, where the suspect is unarmed and non-threatening. I absolutely think this needs to be addressed, and a significant response that we could have to this situation in our country would be reallocating resources that typically go to the police to other things that would have a greater impact in actually making our communities safer. So I look forward to this discussion, and I can already tell it is going to be contentious.
Okay. Now we're gonna go over to Joe Lewis.
Yeah, police should create safe environments when detaining citizens. The detention should also be justified relative to the incident. The inconsistency in police practice leads to citizens' inconsistent response to police officers. Officers should strive for excellence at all times.
Next is gonna be Jangles.
Yeah, so I think we seem to like strip cops of their agency in these conversations. Like we apparently like the side that always defends the cops, they have all this utmost respect for these people doing their jobs and being brave and putting their lives on the line every day, and yet they are just they're viewed as they're stripped of all agency, they're stripped of almost humanity, and they're treated as these forces of nature who just happen to chemically react with things in their environment. Like it's not up to the cop to make the decisions to cause these things to happen. Like I cannot believe like people were so there was I forgot the kid's name. This 13-year-old kid who got shot. Like the camera footage got showed up to him yesterday, and people were legitimately making this making the claim that, well, how's that cop supposed to know that when he tells a kid to turn around and put his hands up, that he's gonna turn around to put his hands up, and then he might or may not have a gun? And they were like, oh, it's so horrible how he like, could you do it? I bet you couldn't make a split-second decision. I hate that. I hate that line of reasoning, and I'm worried I'm gonna hear it here. No, I couldn't make that line of reasoning. Who the fuck cares? That's your job. That's what your training is for. No, if you are bad at your job, you should be criticized on the merits of your job, not whether or not I can do it. I'm sure surgery is hard. If a surgeon fucks up because they didn't apply their training correctly, no, fuck it. I don't care if I can do surgery or not. You should criticize the surgeon for killing somebody. So this notion that cops can only react. That's all they can do. They don't have agency. They don't choose to make mistakes, or rather, they don't choose to do actions. They don't put themselves in these positions. They don't adapt training and that treats like criminals as less than people. All right. The last thing I'll say, I'll ask a question. If you had to pick one, should a cop's priority be to protect citizens or to stop criminals? Those two things are not necessarily the same thing. So that's a question I would ask.
Okay. Next, I'm gonna throw it over to Layman.
Yeah, sure. So something that I'm really happy about with the way that the progressives who have spoken so far have responded to the situation, since we are sort of riffing off of the, sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, Dante Wright situation, is that we seem to be focusing on something that I also want to focus on, which is just, here's the problem, and what can we do to stop the problem happening in the future, problems like this in the future, rather than focusing like so much on just the individual like anecdotal circumstance. So yeah, I think that, you know, if okay, so I'm gonna play centrist here, so I'm sorry if this is cringe, everybody, but so I do think that so something that I like about the lefty side is that the lefty side acknowledges like, hey, systems are not people. And so there are systemic reasons that lead to certain negative behaviors. So on one hand, you have, we're alluding to Dante, of course, but people like Dante who are in similar situations like Dante, where there is like a high octane, high adrenaline fucking situation where there are cops banging on your door and shit, and you're freaking the fuck out. And like, that's it's not a reaction that isn't something that I can empathize with. But at the same time, on the side of the cops, there is like that woman who fucked up and should be put in jail, in my opinion. Maybe some people disagree, but that woman fucking up, I would say, is probably indicative of more so like because this is Minneapolis, and Minneapolis is it's been fucked.
I fucking
for a
hate it when
while.
people say Minneapolis.
Seems to be like in the news.
It's
all the fucking
Minneapolis.
Time. So,
Mini,
on that side,
Apple,
like when I see cops do
yes.
stuff like that, I think something that I see
Minneapolis.
is like a lot of people who identify as left. Nobody on this panel that I've heard. I'm not shitting on anybody on this panel or anything, but I find that there's like a lot of people that I just personally see who then start to then it's like, oh, all of a sudden systems don't matter anymore, and now the cops are like all like individually pieces of shit. This is more of like the ACAB crowd. I don't think anybody here is a part of the ACAB crowd though. So again, that's why I want to give respect to the lefties here. But yeah, so I would like to see us focus the conversation on like how systems influence cops' behavior and how systems influence the criminals, so to speak's behavior, the person being pulled over's behavior, and then what policies we can do to address that, so we can give to the people the idea that governments and legislators and policymakers are paying attention to these things and trying to address these things so less rioting and protests can continue to happen in the future. And with that, I yield.
Hey.
Oh, moderator's muted.
You can't
Hello?
say
Idiot.
that. Only Connor
Yeah,
can say that.
I was muted. I'm sorry. Okay. Next, it's gonna be over to Lecture Fan.
Okay. I think the answer to the question is obviously both. I mean, citizens should never resist arrest, and police shouldn't use excessive force. And we have laws against excessive force, and in the United States of America, we apply those laws. And when police officers use excessive force, they're held accountable in a criminal justice system. That's one of the greatest criminal justice systems in the world. The United States is an example of how you really do it. We hold our cops and our police more accountable here than almost any other country on earth. We're a shining example. I personally believe strongly in the Fourth Amendment. Protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. I think cops should have to get warrants to do a lot of different things that they don't have to get warrants for right now. I find the left's position on this issue completely incoherent. The left is all in favor of expanding the police power. They want cops to be able to pull you over if you're not wearing a seatbelt. They want cops to be able to arrest you if you're gathering at church when there's COVID spread. They want cops to be able to do all of this aggressive activity. They want massive expansion, regulatory powers of the government and the state, and they want the cops to enforce it, and they're the first ones to call the cops and stuff. But then on the other hand, they wanted to fund them and abolish them and everything else. Ridiculous, incoherent positions on the left. The cities and the places that have actually defunded the police over the last year have seen skyrocketing rates of violence. Rashida Tlaib saying abolish the police and abolish incarceration is not a policy that would ever work. We are actually experiencing a war on cops. There was like a 90% increase in cop killings this last year, and I think we ought to recognize that the cops are doing a very, very difficult job, especially in a sick, rotten culture and a society that we live in today, where we have a lot of problems in our society, and it's not the cops' fault, and they're asked to do a very difficult job. And yes, they should be held accountable when they do things wrong, but we ought to recognize that they are in a very difficult position, and we ought to give them the benefit of the doubt a lot of the times, because they're out there trying to protect us from a society that is a rotten culture, spiritually degraded society with skyrocketing rates of violence. And we ought to thank the police officers and cops in this country and say thank you for doing such a difficult job when you've got a bunch of leftist Democrats that are absolutely thankless.
We're gonna throw it now over to Counterpoints.
Oh god damn. I might stroke out on this stream. You guys are gonna fucking kill
and
me.
because Counterpoints might not mention it, Counterpoints is a former police officer, correct?
Yes, I spent 4 years in law enforcement. All right, I'm gonna try to go low and slow. I'm actually layman being here because I think I could have gotten triggered pretty easily and started being an asshole.
That's what I'm here for, buddy. I love you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. So basically, I don't mind with us being solution oriented. We can either scream at each other for the next 90 minutes, and I'll be very happy to do so. But we could also focus on productive solutions. And the original question was basically whether or not citizens have a duty to surrender. The answer is yes. Whether or not police have a duty to not commit police brutality, absolutely. So basically, I would like to focus on solutions because I would like to focus on the systemic. One of the things that I would like to change systemically is basically civic education. Civic education as a part of like home economics or some other kind of education. And I'll try to wrap it up, Dylan, but it's a lot of ground to cover. I would like to see students taught about traffic stops, how to conduct yourself in a traffic stop. I would like them to be educated on their rights, so they basically know when they can say no and when they're being detained and when they're not being detained. I would like to have the public educated on how to conduct themselves with law enforcement, because I think that a lot of the things that result in death or great bodily harm when interacting with law enforcement is simply a lack of knowledge. When it comes to police accountability, I have advocated for and will continue to advocate for third-party accountability. The state of Florida has something called the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They investigate every single shooting that law enforcement is involved in. I would like to see the scope of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement expanded to corruption and brutality. So they also investigate serious accusations of corruption and brutality. These are cops holding other cops responsible, and they would be an independent investigative arm instead of the administration itself. When it comes to Maddie's suggestion of defunding the police, I'm actually perfectly okay with upping social services. Inside the United States of America, we throw two people at all of our problems. Those are teachers and those are law enforcement officers. And it's very clear that there are a whole host of problems that neither one of these professions can handle. What I don't think is necessarily true, and I'm sure we can fight about this, is whether or not that funding needs to come directly from police budgets. We can change the way that law enforcement operates without necessarily defunding it. And also, if police officers are to strive for excellence, as Joe Lewis said, then we need to make sure that we are hiring excellent candidates. You don't get excellent, you get probably a 50-50 split between dog shit candidates and excellent candidates when you're basically risking your life for 40 grand a year. It's just like teachers. I'm sure teachers, most public education teachers, they're some of the best people in the world. I'm also sure there's a lot of shit bags because you have to be there for the right reasons in order to be an excellent person. I could go for like another 10 minutes, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I'll yield for now and we can just save it for the general discussion. But yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Next is going to be CTV.
Well, whenever we're getting into this kind of topic, I think that it's going to be important to talk about history, right? So the war on drugs essentially was that was put into place in 1970. It netted the same results that prohibition did back in the 20s, right? You saw, the growth of black markets selling a product, and people still want the product, and then you see police get ever more aggressive with their enforcement, and then it becomes profit driven. And we've seen, these continued types of things to happen as a result of the drug war, right? So, Lecture Fan, you're absolutely correct that the culture itself is poisoned, and in this case I would say that it's because of the morality of people thinking that because they themselves don't do a drug that
No
it
one's
should
here.
be illegal for others.